Welcome back to the Brilliant Fertility Podcast. We are going to be diving into what men can start doing today to improve their fertility. And before you go too much further in this episode, female partners, if you want to just pause, lovingly forward this to your beloved, because sometimes it helps when it's coming from someone else, when you aren't the one just telling someone what to do. Why this matters is men have 50% of the DNA contribution. So it absolutely makes a difference for the health of a pregnancy, for the health of a child, for men to be on board with these lifestyle changes. And if we come at this from a place of blame, shame, resentment, doesn't feel good. And it doesn't tend to lead to a lasting, empowered action. It tends to just lead to this sort of like disgruntled, like, fine, damn it, I'll do it feeling. But we are aiming for this to be a team effort. And so when everyone is on the same page and feeling really empowered with what actions they can take and what role they play, then it just reconnects you within the partnership, and it has a much more just empowered and intimate feel to it. So let's dive in. I know that some of these are going to be a little bit like, if I can't do that, then what can I do? Not all of these are going to be telling you the things you can't do. And some of them are so important that like it truly is vital to the health of your future children that you do these at least temporarily. Now, my lawyer would want me to say that none of this is medical advice, that this is for educational purposes only, and to please take this to your doctor and talk through your options. But let's go ahead and dive in, because this is going to be a quickie. I want you to be able to take action today. Number one, stop using cannabis and alcohol. I know it's so readily available. We have such good options for better quality cannabis than we did when like our generation was teenagers. Like you can actually go to a dispensary and get something that has been produced organically and is higher quality. But guess what? It's not making good quality sperm. And even if you've had a semen analysis and you were told everything looks great, we have some evidence to show that long-term cannabis use, and even if it's ingested versus inhaled, like this can have an impact on sperm and sperm DNA fragmentation. So we see issues with motility and morphology and higher fragmentation rates. And DNA fragmentation isn't tested on a complete semen analysis. So even if you've had a good-looking semen analysis, that's not a good enough reason for me to say, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Like, I'm still going to make these recommendations because I want you to have the healthiest child that you can have. And I say this from a place of love, as someone who really struggled with anxiety and insomnia. And, some of these substances are really great for calming the nervous system down temporarily, for allowing you to feel more peace and ease and lightness, but they're not solving why you might be feeling anxiety or why you might be feeling frustrated or overwhelmed. So now's a really good opportunity to investigate what are these substances giving you, even if you're not a heavy user of cannabis or alcohol, even if it's just, once a week, that can have an impact that I want to dig deeper into understanding what is that giving you and what are our alternatives for helping you feel truly and deeply relaxed. And this doesn't just impact your fertility. This impacts you as a parent later on too, because you better believe when you have an infant who has been screaming for 6 hours straight, or when you have a toddler who is throwing the tantrum to win all tantrums, it's going to be really empowering to already have some skills to be like, I actually know how to stay calm in this moment. And it doesn't mean I have to be high for it. Like, truly, the things that you can do now to improve your sperm quality are also things that you can be doing to be the best parent you can be later on as well. So, all of the practices that I utilize heavily in my work, like EFT tapping and grounding and somatics, and yes, sometimes I will still use herbs and acupuncture to calm the nervous system and reduce stress in people who have in the past reached towards these substances to calm themselves down. We have so many tools. So please know that just because I'm saying I want you to ditch cannabis and alcohol doesn't mean I'm saying that I just want you to be in a state of stress all day long. We have ways to calm this down, and truly they're so effective. We know that acupuncture has some great effects on male fertility. We actually have more studies on male fertility and acupuncture than we have on female, just because it's so much easier to test sperm than it is to test eggs or to go through an entire cycle of IVF. So I really, really do love utilizing acupuncture in my practice for supporting male factor fertility and to give people tools that they can use on their own in the moments of overwhelm and frustration, like EFT tapping, are phenomenal and can be used for a lifetime. All right, the next thing on our list is to cut out all of your synthetic fragrance things. So colognes, body sprays, body washes that list fragrance or perfume on the label. Same goes for deodorant. No, this doesn't mean I want you walking around just stinky BO all day long, but you can switch to unscented products or products that are scented with essential oils. So if it lists essential oil on the product, then that's going to be much clearer for your body to metabolize, not having the impact of disrupting your hormones or impacting your sperm. There's just not much more we need to say about that. It does make a difference. If you really want to dive into it further, you can read the book The Countdown by Dr. Shanna Swan or watch the recent Netflix documentary series about the plastic dilemma. All right. Number 3, make sure those testes are staying cool. So that means no sauna, no hot baths, no hot tubs. And if you've had a fever or just one exposure to extended heat and extreme heat, so over 100 degrees, can drop sperm count for about 2 months, up to 90 days. It takes about 72 days from start to finish for a sperm to be produced, and then it can take up to another 18 days for that sperm to actually be released. So we're looking at about a 3-month window for these things to make an impact. But also that means if you've had a fever, if you've been sick, if you had a weekend bender and were in the hot tub for 3 days in a row, then you don't want to just go expecting some magical fertility outcome for those next 3 months. We need a few months for the sperm to recover. Now, I do get questions about, is it worth investing in, some of those boxers that you can insert a cold pack in, like the snowballs, or just sitting on a cooling pack? And the thing is, it's not going to hurt. We don't have a ton of evidence about whether or not that's necessary, whether or not that's actually going to improve sperm parameters. Anecdotally, I have seen a couple scenarios where we live in an area here in the United States where it can be up to 115 degrees in the summer. And I had a patient whose husband was working out in their unair conditioned garage in the dead of the heat of the summer. He kind of used it as his workout / sauna, and he would do hour-long workouts, and he would just be drenched in sweat afterwards and hot. And so for his scenario, because that exercise was so good for his mental health and exercise has so many other benefits, I'm not going to tell him not to exercise. I said, okay, if there's an opportunity after that exercise to sit on a cool pack for 45 minutes. And their reproductive endocrinologist agreed that was a perfectly suitable thing to do. Interestingly enough, they got pregnant 3 months later. And so I always wonder in that scenario, especially because the female partner had been trying all of her own things for about 2 years leading up to that, if there wasn't just a strong element of heat in his factor. So cold packs, not going to hurt. We might not see anything super dramatic, but I take that on a case-by-case basis. So take with that what you will. Number 4, eat your fruits and vegetables. That sounds so simple, and yet most of the men who I interview about their nutrition are telling me that they're probably getting 2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And when we look at all of the different cofactors that we need for hormone metabolism and sperm production, we really need all of those antioxidants and polyphenols on board. So eating the rainbow truly is important. It also helps encourage more fiber in the diet. And we know that fiber is great for gut health and decreasing gut inflammation. And there's a strong link between gut inflammation and men's hormonal health and their insulin sensitivity. And so what are we actually aiming for here? About 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables today is what I would be aiming for. More if possible. Like if we could get 10 in, that would make me really happy. And that doesn't have to mean that you are just only chowing down on fruits and vegetables all day long. Like we want balance. And so if we had to look at, is there one diet that may make the biggest impact? It's essentially the Mediterranean style of eating. And that is high in vegetables and fruits and beans and nuts and seeds and fish, and meat and dairy are kind of like the condiments to that. And there's not a lot of processed food in there. So notice I didn't say cut out all processed food, cut out all sugar, all seed oils. No. When it comes to diet, I want to focus on what can we include more of and what actually makes a difference. And I'm going to tell you guys a story about a couple that I primarily worked with the female partner. At this point, I have worked with them. I mean, just a caveat, they're done having children. They have both their children earthside. So they had been through 5 pregnancy losses, 4 early pregnancy losses, 1 ectopic pregnancy, and 1 failed embryo transfer, at which point we had to have like a come to Jesus moment. Because again, my female patient had done so much. She had completely overhauled her entire lifestyle, the way she ate, the way she exercised, the supplements she took, her sleep, her chemical exposures. She was coming for acupuncture every week. She was getting pregnant. And all of the factors that we had influence over on her side were taken care of. And we'd had multiple conversations over the years about, what is her husband doing to improve his contribution? And because his semen analysis always looked pretty good, he was kind of like, I don't see that I have to do anything else. And this man was one of the pickiest eaters that I'd ever come across, basically wouldn't eat a vegetable and was really inconsistent about the supplement recommendations. So after the embryo transfer failed, she said, you know what, for my mental health, I have to step back from this. I'm tired. If this is meant to be, I'm fully realizing how important it is for me to surrender. And she went to her husband and she said, and if you want this, if you want this child, you're going to need to do your part. I'm done. I've done my part. So I'm peacing out. I'll go to acupuncture because it helps me sleep and it makes me feel like I'm a better person. but like, I'm not doing it with the intention that I'm trying to get pregnant. Like, this is just where I'm at. And that was a wake up call for him. So he started eating one big salad a day and one smoothie a day to supplement his fruit and vegetable intake. At first I think he was kind of just sucking it down and like, ugh. And eventually he started to not mind it so much because his energy improved and he was feeling a bit better and he was taking his supplements at least 5 days a week. And here's where it gets really interesting, is that after years of losses and struggle and the ectopic pregnancy and the failed IVF, they got pregnant unassisted, and she carried that pregnancy to term, no complications. And we will never not wonder if it wasn't largely in part to her husband taking a more active role on his lifestyle, because that pregnancy occurred about 3 months after she'd had the come to Jesus moment with him. And I've seen this happen several times in such a way that it's just like, ooh, that timing, it's so interesting. 3 months after we started these changes and we know about how long it takes for sperm to be created, that to me, that really speaks out. So I do love a well-placed supplement when it comes to male factor. We've got some evidence for CoQ10. We've got some evidence for L-carnitine, the antioxidants like lutein and lycopene. And I use vitamin D pretty liberally, but I like to test. First, I like to have conversations with my patients and their partners about why we'd be using certain things. So I wouldn't recommend just taking all the supplements willy-nilly. Like, sit down, have a conversation with someone about what you're experiencing, what your semen analysis looks like, what your other labs look like. And that leads us to the final piece. Number 5, get tested. So get that semen analysis done sooner rather than later. Yeah, it's awkward. So what? We get over it. It's so easy to test. It's so inexpensive compared to what female partners go through in terms of the number of blood draws, the expensive blood work, the number of pelvic ultrasounds, like someone sticking a wand in your vag and poking around at your ovaries and your uterus. It is one of the most damn uncomfortable things to have to go through. And yet women are subjected to this in their fertility journey multiple times. So get the semen analysis. You might need more than one. It is awkward and you will survive. A lot of the options allow you to collect at home and bring the sample to the office as long as you can get there within the hour. That makes it slightly less awkward, if not infinitely less awkward. The blood tests that I like to do for men include their hormones like FSH, LH, testosterone, the free and total testosterone specifically, prolactin. I like to know what their blood sugar is up to. So glucose and hemoglobin A1C. I like to see a lipid panel. I like to see a vitamin D. And I like to see inflammation markers. I want to know what's happening internally in the body and if there's some signs of metabolic disease or inflammation or nutrient deficiencies that could contribute in any way to male factor or even just subpar DNA. Like, we want your DNA in top form for this kid, because there's so much that we truly do have influence over, and that can be empowering. So I hope you can take this from the heart and know that this advice is not meant to take away things that you love and enjoy, but just to help you build a foundation of healthier future children and really having some empowering actions that you can take on so that you can be a team in this. So just to recap, the 5 things that men can start doing now to improve fertility, even knowing it's going to take a bit for those sperm to form, for there to be repair. So you're going to start doing them now, but we're going to expect to see the fruits of that labor about 3 months out from now. So stop using cannabis and alcohol. Let's find some other ways for you to truly deeply relax. Let's cut the fragrance all the synthetic fragrance. Let's find some fragrance-free or essential oil-based alternatives so that you can smell good but not be poisoning your sperm. Let's make sure those testicles stay cool. They don't want to be in the sauna. They don't want to be in the hot tub. Let's keep those cool. Eat your fruits and veggies every day, multiple times a day. The more colors, the better. And get tested. Don't leave your partner hanging by not getting your half of this situation checked out. If that means having a couple awkward conversations, you're going to survive it, and it is worth it for the health of your future children. And I'm just sending you a lot of strength in this because I know you've got this, and I love seeing some of these Gen Z couples coming to me just like ready to tackle this together as a team. Seeing it in some of my millennials as well, but like, let's just be a team in this, okay? All right. If you have deeper questions that you want covered around this, if you feel like you are ready for personalized insight, I'll drop the link to my discovery call in the show notes. I would love to chat through this with you. We can decide what is the next best step. Where can we be the most targeted? Where can we get the most result, the most impact in the simplest way? That's the shit I love. And I am sending you all so much love today. Until next time, take care.